Hello and welcome to the SamMobile Podcast. I'm your host Ben from SamMobile, and welcome to episode 6 of your weekly SamMobile Podcast, where you pretty much get all the latest news in the world of Samsung fresh off the press. And it is going to be a solo show this week, but we're not going to waste much time because we've got some hot topics to really dive in, where we've had some new storage announcements and advancements from Samsung, and what that is going to mean for your future smartphones in terms of speed and performance. And also, because we finally have the standard base model S22 in, we're going to be talking about that, as we now finally have all 3 Galaxy S22 models in-house, and just what's my thoughts of it since the announcement back in the 9th of February, and which one is still my favorite, and how does that look into next year and for the rest of the quarter. But you know what? Let's not waste much time. As I always like to say, get your meal, get your popcorn, get your drink. Do not waste any time. Get into it while we do as well. And yeah, we're going to get straight into this episode. So firstly, happy new month to everyone. It's the birthday month for me, May, which always gets me excited. Summer blockbuster movies. And, you know, I just came off the back of watching that Manchester City and Real Madrid Champions League semi-final. So, man, it's crazy. Champions League is just a whole different vibe when you're watching it. I ain't even going to lie to you. But you know what? We're not going to talk football about this one. This is your tech podcast for all things related to Samsung. And we are pretty much going to dive into what the advancements have been this week when it comes to Samsung. And right off the back, we have a new pre-approved standard for universal flash storage, UFS 4.0. Wow. So as you know, obviously in the latest flagship phones and the phones that we're using right now on the Samsung devices, that we do have UFS 3.1, I believe. I think there is 3.2 spec, but 3.1 is what we've been seeing in the newer generation phones at the minute, from like, you know, your Galaxy S22 series and your latest foldables as well. But yeah, we have UFS 4.0 pretty much pre-certified, and we're gonna, since it's by myself, you know, I'm doing it solo today. We don't have a co-host yet. We don't have a special guest for today, so I'm gonna try my best to carry it. So stick with me, people, and you know, for our audio listeners, definitely give us a follow on all your favorite podcasting and audio platforms as well. And for our video listeners, definitely come over to SamMobile TV on YouTube, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss your weekly dose of the SamMobile Podcast, as well as all the other content that we do, all related to Samsung as well. And I think the video listeners get to watch this on Spotify as well, because Spotify seems to be supporting video as well as audio. So yeah, tune in, which is a good look. I'm definitely digging that as well. As much as I dread doing solo podcasting, it's always nice to have guests or have a co-host. I'm going to try my best to push through, so definitely bear with me when it comes to that as well. So SamMobile.com has been really heating up in terms of the news, and you know, we are the place that gives you all the latest, and we're going to read this straight from the SamMobile.com website and kind of give our 2 cents on it as well. So for our video watchers, if you're watching it, watch along, and definitely we're going to try and paraphrase and read through. And this was pretty much hot off the press on the 3rd of May. Pretty much it was like end of day in the UK where I'm based, and it was a very interesting one to hear about it. And we do have it where it says Samsung's new UFS, which is acronyms, and again, I like to decrypt acronyms because I love acronyms in that sense. Universal Flash Storage 4.0 will make your phone super fast. And pretty much it was just that Samsung has announced UFS 4.0, its universal flash storage solution that's used in a range of smartphones, tablets, and other mobile devices out there. Samsung is promising huge speed and efficiency gains with UFS 4.0, which the company says will go into mass production into the 3rd quarter of the year. Whoo, 3rd quarter of the year. Wow. So if you think Q3 is when? July, August, September. Wow. Okay. Ooh, all right. I'll say that the next part says that suggests either Samsung's new Galaxy Z Fold 4. Yes, I'm in the UK. I say Z, people. Like, you got to deal with it. I say Z in it. Where are we? Okay. That suggests that either the Galaxy Z Fold 4 and the Flip 4 foldables or next year's Galaxy S23 lineup will be amongst the first devices to feature the UFS 4.0 storage that, let's just obviously in terms of guesswork, but in any case, Android smartphones are going to become super fast very, very soon. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, so let's look into kind of the theoretical speeds that we're seeing. What Samsung are saying is that you could get bandwidth up to 23.2 gigabits per second per lane, double that of UFS 3.1. And, what they're saying is it's going to be perfect for 5G smartphones that are requiring huge amounts of data processing. And obviously, this is using Samsung's 7th generation V9 technology, will enable sequential read speeds of up to 4,200 megabytes, not bits, megabytes per second, and sequential write speeds of 2,800 megabytes per second, which are also considerably higher numbers than a current UFS 3.1 can achieve. Okay, so we're seeing like an official logo there that says Samsung UFS 4.0 1 terabyte. Finally, Samsung says power efficiency has improved as well, as that mobile devices using UFS 4.0 will last longer, offering faster read and write times and also high data bandwidth. Okay, Samsung quoting 46% improvement over UFS 3.x or 3.0, 3.1 or 3.2, or if you want more specific numbers, then obviously the sequential read of 6 megabytes per AM, okay, per milliamps. Okay, interesting. UFS 4.0 will have capabilities of up to 1 terabyte storage, which is good to see. Lots of internal storage there, especially for mobile devices, which makes it the perfect fit for flagship Galaxy smartphones that come in multiple storage configuration. Again, we'll likely see UFS 4.0 being used in either Samsung's next foldables or the S23 series. Samsung will also be working with other manufacturers to make UFS 4.0 available in the automotive, augmented reality with AR, virtual reality with VR applications, and other Android smartphones. Definitely. We're going to leave this article in the description below, so definitely you'll be able to check it out. But this came directly from the official Samsung Semiconductor Twitter handle, the Samsung DS Global. It's verified and it's only following 9 people, and it's got like 85.2k followers. And they are the ones that use the official UFS 4.0 1 terabyte image that you can see right there if you're watching this. So just bear that in mind. And they pretty much did a thread breakdown. I don't know if it was on the newsroom, but they did a thread breakdown. This went live UK time 5:21 p.m. 3rd of May, and 3rd of May obviously being on a Tuesday, the day of the bank holiday. Yeah, it was near enough end of the day, and we pretty much caught in. They did a thread that, again, we paraphrased it perfectly on the SamMobile.com website with the article, and it's going to be very interesting because those throughput speeds in terms of obviously megabytes per second is about 2,900 megabytes per second in terms of, per lane, which is ridiculously fast. Wow. Bring on UFS 4.0. Bring on UFS 4.0, I guess. And it's just something that we just got to take in and see. What's my thoughts on UFS 4.0? Whoa, it's great. This has been pre-verified, I guess, and pre-approved. And the potential of increasing for mobile devices, I always want to say this, for mobile devices, efficiency is everything. I think in terms of what we are able to achieve with these smartphones right now and tablets, I think they're pretty much at their peak-ish. Everything is really about the efficiency, the performance, the efficiency. And again, it's great to see the performance increase, but the efficiency is very important. Now, this is good to see. I mean, you can never have enough speed. You would always want the headroom, because the headroom is always going to be good for things like when you're installing applications, when you're installing large, software updates and large file packets and whatnot, right? All these things are definitely going to be a difference maker in making sure that you have the best experience and less friction. They're saying that obviously it's better suited for 5G smartphones and whatnot, because obviously the potential gigabit or half gigabit download speeds that you can get from 5G, as well as obviously the lackluster upload speeds, which is a whole different discussion in terms of where we are and what I would actually love to see. But it is good to see. It is good to see that Samsung are putting their foot on the pedal when it comes to storage solutions, because Samsung SSD, they've literally been a gold standard in storage solutions for however long that we can actually remember, which is a great thing. And UFS coming to this point where we are really getting near enough true SSD speeds on our smartphone is great to see. Here's what I would love to see to actually back it up as well. Transfer speeds by USB. Are we going to get to the point where, again, this is a slight tangent, and again, this is where the cynic in me just has to kind of, go with the conversation and see what's coming in my head and what's my 2 cents and take on seeing something like this develop and come over time, right? My personal thing that I'm looking at when it comes to UFS 4.0 storage is that it's all well and good that we're getting this increase, but what will the increase in capabilities get? In terms of, are we going to get much more efficient or higher capabilities when it comes to video shooting bit rates? Here's why. As someone that does a lot of camera comparisons, for SamMobile and myself personally, I always look into like the metadata of these recording modes. And right now, I think on average, if I remember right, and if I'm wrong, I will correct myself in the next episode or whatnot. But we're looking at bit rates on smartphones that, like let's just say the Galaxy S22, S22 Ultra. You've got 4K 30 frames a second, which is the high resolution standard frame rate mode. And I think the average bit rate on that you're seeing is around 30 to 40 megabits per second, which is actually usable for 4K or UHD. And then when you go up to 60 frames a second, you are at, let's just say 75 megabits per second, 70 megabits per second here or around. So we're seeing a decent increase, which is great. But the problem I'm seeing is that when you go up to the specialist resolutions, which again, you can still argue it's a niche, resolution next to frame rate as well, especially with the limitation of only being able to shoot in 24 frames a second, 8K UHD. Now that 8K resolution, the bit rate doesn't actually change. And it's not like it's shooting, to my knowledge, I don't believe it's shooting in a H.265 HEVC codec. You see, so it's good that the headroom is coming with these theoretical higher, sequential read and write speeds. But if we're getting that increase in sequential write speeds being that much better, and there's a better efficiency as well, I would love to see the capabilities of these cameras really go up when it comes to video codecs, for example, in terms of much higher bit rates, because people don't understand that bit rate makes a huge difference in video quality. It makes a huge difference in video quality. It makes a difference in video quality, and it's also what causes the most storage penalty. Not the actual physical horizontal and vertical resolution as such, but the bit rate, the data rate. The more information that you can put up there, up to a diminishing return, based on things like what codec is it recording in, what container is it in, what compression codec, what compression technique is it using? Is it using long GOP? Is it using all intra? Is it using pro? All those things count right up to diminishing return, but bit rate matters. And I would love to see an increase in the video bit rate so that the quality of the video performance can really, really handle all of that sequential write speed, especially because obviously when you're recording, you're writing too. And then when you're playing back is when you're reading off or you're transferring and stuff, right? I would love to see that kind of progression and increase right there, just off the bat. Like I'm talking about near enough 50% increase in bit rates for your video codecs, even in 1080p where you can have really, really high quality 1080p video that near enough matches what you see in, at the 4K resolutions with the bit rates, as well as obviously enabling features like high frame rate 4K UHD slow motion, things like, 4K 120 or, 1080p up to 400, like much higher bit rates and features increase, especially when it comes to the video side of things, as well as obviously things like as sensor speeds are really fast on smartphones anyway, and the ISPs increase, just being able to have like true high resolution and true crisp burst mode when it comes to being able to read and write fast pictures in burst modes with autofocus onto storage without a penalty, right? I don't just want to see this increase just based on just hey, we've increased it, right? It's a lot faster. The funny voices are going to start coming out now. Apologies. Again, go a bit crazy when I'm by myself in that sense, right? I just don't want to see an increase in this just for the sake of increase sake, right? That's just my personal opinion. I do want to see, because of our new breakthrough of the universal flash storage, we do also want to see features being showcased, right? We want to see maybe the push forward of H.266, the new replacement for H.265 with HEVC. We want to see better colors in terms of, the bit depth, having 10-bit as standard without having to shoot in, log or a flat profile, or in HDR necessarily. I just want to see the capabilities of this storage, especially for doubling the theoretical speeds and even the usable speeds being double. I want the capabilities to really shine in terms of unlocking features that are going to make much more sense in that body of, a smartphone that we'll be expecting to see. Let's just say in the Galaxy S23. I really want to see those capabilities match up to what the storage increase and benefits of UFS 4.0 is going to be, with the 4,200 megabytes sequential read speeds, as well as the 2,800 megabytes sequential write speeds as well, theoretical or real world or whatnot. Those are the things I definitely want to see. There has to be capability increase. Thinking about in terms of the expense of it, I fear that there will be a price increase. I feel like we're gonna pay to play. In this situation, Samsung are pretty much taking the lead on it. I feel like we're gonna be in a position we have to pay to play. I don't know where the balance is gonna be in terms of flattening out the cost, unless certain features are gonna be taken down in certain models. But I feel like this will cause an increase in pricing as well. I think it will cause an increase in pricing, sadly, in my personal opinion, if the claims of the performance numbers really do live up to what is being said. So it's just something to consider, that already where we're seeing, like, with the trio of devices here that we're going to be talking about, soon, which is obviously now we have the S22 Ultra, the S22 Plus, S22. I just feel like this, we as the consumers, on top of the chip shortages and the difficulty in logistics and just how weird the world is at the minute, still is, sadly, even though things are normalizing depending on where you are and what region, I do feel like there will be an increase in price when it comes to it as well. The main thing I want to know is that what's going to be the adoption rate, in terms of the devices. Again, Q3, I think the foldables will miss it in terms of devices. I think foldables will miss it. Foldables will miss it because if we are looking at when these foldables tend to come, they come in the first week of August, around that period of time. And again, the beginning of Q3 is July, August, September. So potentially they could sneak in there. But personally, I think supply chains and kind of pushing things where they are, I don't think they would make it into the Fold and the Flip series. That's just my opinion. I would love to be proven wrong. But I can pretty much see this being a showcase feature for the Galaxy S23. This is something that's going to be mentioned. And if it's mentioned, backed up with obviously the feature sets that are going to be improved with it, especially when it comes to video performance and especially when it comes to, high quality kind of sports photography with your smartphone. Maybe you're at a football match and you wanted to get like a high quality burst of pictures, just being able to have that low to no latency write speed to your UFS 4.0 storage on your flagship smartphone. That could change the game in terms of how your response time is. And you know what? It's coming to mind, yeah. But I think this could really, I don't know if this will be the difference maker to fix the, semi-plagued issue of shutter lag on the flagship Samsung devices, right? Could UFS 4.0 be the fix for that? I don't know. Potentially, I would love to think that, within the pipeline of how the image signal processing works with it, that this could be something that could help with it. I don't know. You can leave comments where you can, where you're allowed to on whichever platform that you're listening or watching this from, to see if this is the case and if you're thinking the same. But I'm trying to think out loud and come out with the possible benefits and the solutions of how to take it all on and what the expectations are. But UFS 4.0 looks promising. That's definitely one thing. Whenever we get advances like this, it's never a bad thing in terms of making our smartphones better, right? Knocking down bottleneck, and we know bottleneck, man. The frictions that you can see from the little things now, these smartphones have just become so good that we have to look at them from a microscope to really spot the differences out. And that's a good thing, But it's also an unfortunate way to dissect things. But again, I think this has come out of just the fact that, bruh, these things are expensive. I mean, close to £1,000, above £1,000. You're paying buck outright or monthly down, even with or without good trade-ins or not. You are paying up. So these are the advancements that we want to further justify what we're paying for in terms of getting the features that benefit from it straight away, where it unlocks new generation features on top of new generation features, plus the efficiencies that will come with it, whether in terms of, longevity, battery life and battery health, just the overall system impact as well. All these things matter. And UFS 4.0 definitely looks promising. I like the look of it. In terms of availability, I think Samsung are really going to take lead of it first, personally. What other devices could we really see it in? Again, OEM devices, I'm sure Samsung are going to be outsourcing it to other OEMs to make it possible in terms of, availability, adoption rate, and whatnot. But here's another thing that just came to mind. Back in the day, Samsung's universal flash storage wasn't just meant to be an internal solution, but it actually was meant to be a forward replacement and a cohesion with micro SD. Yeah, most people forget it. But could we... It's a tangent question. It's a curveball question. But could we see... Could we see that being a revived solution? I don't think so, sadly. I don't think so. I think, the micro SD and expandable storage in general, it's something that it has become a dying breed, is a dead breed, as dead as the headphone port, i.e. headphone jack is. Unless you are looking at the mid-range Samsung phones, then maybe that is something that is still there to an extent. But I think that in itself probably will see its way out in some way, which I hate to say, but it just feels that way when in a mid-range section, if you're taking things out like the headphone port, like we saw with the A53 and A33 and A73 and whatnot, something like the micro SD card could be coming out as well. But I mean, just more of a curveball. I would love to see external UFS storage solutions done as a cohesion alongside the micro SD, and also probably as a full-on replacement. But I don't think that will happen. But it's just something to think about. That maybe it could as a surprise, and it's something that maybe they could throw in there and throw out there and pretty much see in that sense. But it's an interesting place to be. Tablets definitely will benefit from this. I don't know if laptops, especially Chromebooks, maybe from Samsung, could benefit from this. This could be a really interesting low power, high speed efficiency solution with Samsung Chromebooks. That's something that I'm thinking about in terms of where we're going to be seeing it in solutions as well. But obviously, like what they've said, the automotive industry would really benefit from this as well, especially, transition to electric vehicles, the EVs, right? Where anything low power draw, but high performance efficiency in there would really benefit, giving you a lot of those autonomous kind of features as well, especially with, certain vehicles that are able to just record, your driving for dash cam purposes and whatnot, being able to have higher quality recordings, higher quality cameras, and faster storage that doesn't take up as much, energy, and also have that longevity. We could see UFS 4.0 come into those, situations where you've got, high quality 4K cameras on your electric vehicles, and it could work as a beneficial solution as well. Again, solutions like augmented reality, virtual reality, it would definitely be interesting to see how far we go. One thing I will say is this, that I would love, as someone that is also in video production, I would love UFS 4.0 to be the solution that potentially ushers at least some form of embedded storage on proper production cameras, like your mirrorless hybrid cameras that I'm using to shoot, this live this pre-recording of the podcast, whatnot. I would love to see this be, because, as good as obviously, SD cards are, I think we would love to see embedded storage that's really, really quick, maybe low storage capacity amounts, somewhere around 64 gigs to 128 gigs, so we're not fully tied in, And the last thing I'll probably then add to it is that, as well as the feature sets increasing, right, like I said before, USB transfer speeds really need to get up there. And when I say need to get up there, we need to get to USB 4. UFS 4.0 back to USB 4 with Thunderbolt capabilities. We need to get up there, because if we're going to be getting these higher storage requirements for recording when it comes to pictures and videos and whatnot, with or without being someone like myself that does a lot of camera comparisons, I damn well promise you, when you're transferring stuff over slow USB solutions, it is very, very infuriating. It's very, very frustrating. And we really need a complete overhaul in terms of just having the ability to have much faster transfer speed solutions over the universal serial bus, the USB standard for USB-C. We need to get UFS 4.0 in line with USB 4.0 on these flagship tablets and smartphones, especially the tablets having multiple USB ports in there to bring that solution forward. This is something that we really have to see improve with it, because it will be so frustrating where, again, a well-known fruit company did the same, where they put a very high quality bitrate codec ProRes on their smartphone, but yet you're limiting the storage capabilities and the recording capabilities to 1080p on the base model. You can get 4K up to 30 frames a second, but yet you're doing it over USB 2.0 compliant Lightning port. That just makes no sense. And with whatever wireless solution that they have, it is counterproductive to have all that increased capability of the NVMe storage that you have in your smartphones if you're going to have slow transfer speeds over wire or wireless. So that's just something to consider in that sense. But yeah, as of the 3rd of May, we've got the pre-announcement and pre-approval of UFS 4.0 storage. And a quick recap is pretty much Samsung promising 46% better efficiency, storage solutions up to 1 terabyte, and obviously sequential read speeds of 4,200 megabytes per second and 2,800 megabytes per second in terms of write speeds as well. So future's bright for storage and your future smartphones. And guesstimating it, like we said, foldables are going to miss it. And guessing it all, we should potentially be seeing that on the upcoming next year's Galaxy S23 series flagship devices. But yeah, that's pretty much the main hot topic out of the way. Gonna go for a quick water break and just, take a bit of time out, but don't go too far, as we will not be going too far ourselves. We'll be back and we pretty much will talk about the trifecta, the trio that is the Galaxy S22 series with the S22, S22 Plus, and S22 Ultra, and kind of share my thoughts, as now that I've been able to use them, I have them together, I'm still kind of using them. And, after the review period, long-term review period, and what my thoughts are settling in, and are they still the same, or do I sway the other way? And has there been any curveballs in there? But yeah, don't go too far. We'll be right back. And we are back. Hope you didn't go too far. We tried not to go too far, but we're back and pretty much kind of just on the final leg of episode 6 of the SamMobile Podcast. Hope it's been okay just having me. But again, I will be working on getting, more guests coming on very soon. But, we push through regardless. We want to make sure that we keep this consistent for you. So that every Friday you should be getting your dose of the podcast and pretty much watching it through. And we really appreciate the support that we've been getting globally with the playbacks as well. But yes, as you know, SamMobile TV, YouTube, definitely come over there for all the video reviews, as well as obviously on sammobile.com where we do all the written reviews, and pretty much all over socials as well. And it's been an interesting journey, because for the longest time, we've pretty much just been using the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and also alongside with the S22 Plus. And these have been great devices, but the S22 was the missing child, and we do have it a base 6.1 inch. And that means that we do have the trifecta all together finally. And it's been interesting to pretty much see these together and whatnot. And it's just put the perspective in place and just what my thoughts have been with the Galaxy S22 series at the minute and how I feel about it now that I fully have them all three together away from their initial hands-on or whatnot. I'm gonna try and summarize each of them. Again, we've done the individual reviews, we've done the camera comparisons, we've done the battery comparisons, the charging test videos, the general comparisons that we're going through again. You know, so I feel like I have a good enough idea of how all three of these pretty much represent. We're going to start from the top and work to the bottom, right? Not starting from the bottom and now we're here. We're going to go from the top and we're going to call out the Galaxy S22 Ultra. I'm going to say it straight. And I was thinking maybe things will change, but things haven't really changed. Not in a bad way, but this is just a Note 22 Ultra, people. This is a Note 22 Ultra in nothing but the name. There is nothing S-series about this device. That's not a bad thing, but just take it as that. This is the Note 22 Ultra announced 6 months early, but without the name and just replaced it. What's my general thoughts on this? I don't mind that they did that, but you see, at the same time, this is not the promise of the direct fusion of an S-series Ultra phone and a Note series Ultra phone that I was expecting to see, especially when it comes to the design aesthetics. I've said this and I've stood by it, right? But the single ring hole punch, the single ring designs is clean in a sense. I just prefer the Galaxy S21 Ultra design. And I would have loved them to really have leaned into that aspect of the design at the back for the Galaxy S21 Ultra a lot more, right? I said it in my long-term review. If it moves like a duck, it quacks like a duck, then it is a duck. And this is the perfect case of if it looks like a Note, it feels like a Note, then it pretty much is a Note, especially with the embedded S Pen. You know, I feel like they missed the trick to really do a fusion where calling this the S22 Ultra would have made sense, where it's like, this does look like an S-series Ultra device, but it's clearly taken a lot of cue from the Note series. And I feel like they missed a trick there. Not in terms of obviously the phone itself not being really good. This, as a slab of a phone, is a beast. It's literally like, talk to me about just the all-round nature of this, and you have fully got my attention when it comes to just how good of an all-round phone this is to use, right? Love it. Love it. I just feel like it's identity-wise, it ain't really part of the S-series. This ain't part of the S-series. I'm not going to go into the whole, you know, how is it held up and whatnot. It's held up good. It's held up good. You know, our previous episodes that we talked about in terms of, you know, the state of Exynos, the cost of Exynos. The cost of Exynos is still higher than it needs to be, in my personal opinion, in terms of, you know, the cost of what the devices are with the Exynos chips in comparison with their Snapdragon models. And also the cost of it in terms of the performance, the efficiency values. And I'm not necessarily even talking about, heat and stuff like that. I'm even just talking about the things that I really look into when I'm actually testing a phone, like camera performance, right? I usually don't like to play into it, but again, like stated before, I feel like the cost of Exynos for camera performance, especially when it comes to pictures and image processing, is still too high, unfortunately. And I just think it's a shame, in my personal opinion. But away from that, the hardware is brilliant. The zooms are even better than before. The camera is still refined in its own right. You know, stabilization is even better across the board, and even in more features like in video portrait mode, which I undoubtedly did say was one of my favorite features, especially going on trips like we were in Dubai in last year. You know, using video portrait mode on one of the boat rides we were at, it was phenomenal. Loved it. So all these things there, you know, I think as a juggernaut goes, as an all-around solid state normal slab phone goes, nothing tops the S22 Ultra. But I can't help but calling it the Note 22 Ultra. It just is the Note 22 Ultra for me. So it kind of leaves this in a weird place, in my opinion, in terms of suffering a mini identity crisis and kind of disguising itself not very well, in my personal opinion. Here's why. S22 Plus. And again, we've done the long-term review alongside with the S22. And boy, my opinion still stays, this still is the nicest phone I've used. It's not even the nicest S series phone alone. And it is the nicest S series phone. But this is still the nicest and the most premium, well put together, tightly put phone. And I love the form factor decrease to 6.6. I think it just adds that Goldilocks just right size and feeling to the device that really stands out. And I have to say that, yes, I'm in a very privileged position to have these together, pretty much using them right now, right? But the S22 Plus it's my favorite S series device ever. And because it stands on its own identity-wise, building from what the S series was with the S21, with how the camera module was shaped, blended into the camera module and the frame. Obviously, it's slightly raised and gapped this time with the chamfers. Some people had a thing against it because it didn't mold into the frame like it did with the S21, but I like this. And I feel like the way they've cut the chamfers in the rings and the camera module around, the matte frosted finish being a lot more refined, the rounded but flat edges at the same time to still add comfortability, but like a sharper grip to it as well. And obviously, the best part is, whoa, give me that. Let me even just turn it down so you can see it properly. Give me all of that, please. Look at how even and symmetrical those bezels and borders are with that ridiculously small hole punch. Samsung pulling this off properly for the first time. Visually, 1080p or not, this is just visually the nicest viewing experience I've experienced on any smartphone so far. This definitively is my favorite S series device. And I'll be honest, I really just need to take the main SIM out of the S22 Ultra and put it in here and really enjoy it for what it is. I just love it that much, right? There's a love to this, but there's a respect to the S22 Ultra, even though there's an identity crisis. But I'm going to go out on a whim and say this. This S22 base model, 6.1 inch, is compact phone of the year. Not holding back. There will not be a compact phone that tops this, in my personal opinion. Except for one thing, battery life. Honestly, the battery life does translate to be the same as the S22 Plus. It does. It really does, right? 3 to 4 hours of screen on time. But for the time that I've had it, and again, shout out to Vodafone UK PR for sending this over. Really appreciate the support for SamMobile as well. Just saying it out there, putting it out there. I have to say this. Pushing it, I've had 2 occasions where I've lasted near enough 2.5 hours of screen on time with the S22 Plus. So the S22 6.1 inch, 3,700 milliamp hour battery, does not support 45 watt charging. 25 watt charging is what it supports on there. It is the Achilles heel. I think obviously the only other optimization to really get around it and get through it is definitely going to be managing 5G usage. I live in a heavily 5G congested area. Even indoors, I get strong bars when it comes to 5G. I get good 5G performance when I'm indoors. Definitely outdoors, I get good 5G performance as well, being in the nation capital in London. That is the Achilles heel. So you really have to take this for what it is in terms of you have to manage battery on there. You've got to manage your usage on there. You've got to set your expectations, because 3,700 milliamps, it just looks like no amount of optimization is really gonna help this do its thing. So, and again, little things like when you're using it in bed, which you shouldn't, and you're facing the phone up there, it's the smaller size makes it hard to manage, and it kind of just does fall down. So there's little odd nuances for a phone being this compact. But to say a 6.1 inch screen device is compact, honestly, shows how they really just mastered the trimmings of how to put together a phone that does look and behave as good as this. And this, it's just so refreshing to have a phone that is one-hand usable, completely one-hand usable, compact, but still getting a top tier premium flagship experience. And in my personal opinion, right, again, just an early preview of the general comparison that we're going to be putting out there for the S21 FE. If you're looking at MSRP, and again, prices fluctuate, you get different prices and you get different discounts and whatnot. in my personal opinion, I called this from before when I reviewed the S21 FE. The S21 FE in the UK base model is Snapdragon 888, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, $699. This is Exynos 2200, 4 nanometers versus 5 nanometers, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, 769. There's a £70 difference. I would pay that £70 difference for this and take a hit to the battery life and have a much more compact and yet premium feeling device. I'm the odd exception here. I am the odd exception here, but I just feel like this, especially compared to what the S21 was in terms of obviously the plastic back and whatnot and just how they've refined things. In my personal opinion, S22 is compact smartphone of the year, period. Has it thrown enough of a curveball for the three phones that we have here for the Galaxy S22 Ultra, S22 Plus, and S22? No, it hasn't. Still stands that I have a lot of respect for the workhorse that is the S22 Ultra, but the identity crisis of it and how much I loved what the S21 Ultra stood for and how the S series, in my opinion, the S series Ultra has been killed off for the Note 20 Ultra, well, the Note Ultra series, but by name it feels messy to me in terms of identity crisis problem, in my personal opinion. So respect, but not me. But my favorite is definitely the S22 Plus. Oh, I don't think the value's there. Here's why. Unless you're getting it below the MSRP base price, which obviously starts at £949 from what I remember, I don't think it's worth £949. And by principle, a phone of that price, there should be a QHD Plus option in there. This is still a 1080p display. Even if you're giving me QHD Plus in 90 Hertz, definitely. And that's one thing I do not like about that. And I think the battery is just way too typical for that price point. It should at least be somewhere between 5 to 6 hours of screen on time in terms of usage. This is consistently a 3 to 4 hours of screen on time device, right? So that's another thing to consider. So that reduction from the 4,800 milliamp hour battery, yes, because of the form factor, to 4,500 is something it doesn't hit me well, right? But this is more than the sum of the parts, personally. This sits so nicely in just how nice it feels, how nice it's used. I love it. There's a love for this device and there's appreciation for this device. Even in this pink gold color. Again, the green is definitely my color to go for, in my personal opinion, this time around. But the S22 Plus, it still stands. I was thinking maybe once I had all three, there will be a curveball that came in there. No. S22 Plus is definitely my favorite. Probably not the best value. I'd say 769 for the base model of the S22 is the best value. But again, you just got to consider what you value and what you have in terms of, what your thoughts are. But definitely watch out for the, reviews if you've not seen them already on SamMobile.com and also on SamMobile TV as well. And there'll probably be more discussions, and it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up into next year when the S22, S23 series gets announced. And what will happen with the S22 FE? We've discussed this before, but it depends on how things will line up with the S22 FE in there. If it would disrupt something that will sit like a nice in-betweener between the S22 Plus and the S22, like what we saw with the S21 FE at that 6.4 inch size, and pretty much take it from there. But yeah, pretty much let me know what your thoughts are on which ones are going to be your favorite out of the three, if you've got which one and which model and why. But for me, that is pretty much it. That is episode 6 done and dusted. It was a solo show. Hopefully I've tried my best to keep you all engaged as much as possible. Definitely give us a rating on our podcast on all your favorite audio platforms as well. Give us a follow. Definitely turn the notifications so you don't miss any future episodes of the SamMobile Podcast. Definitely follow us on socials, on Instagram, as well as on Twitter. And also subscribe and watch and read all our articles and all the latest news that you want to find on SamMobile.com. And definitely come over to YouTube on SamMobile TV. Like, subscribe, and turn the notifications so you don't miss any future videos over there as well. And the video form of the podcast. It's been me, Ben. And as I always like to say, stay safe during this time, and we will most definitely catch you next time.